The HFC phase down has placed a significant emphasis on the recovery of refrigerants from the industry. As we move forward through the HFC phase down, it'll be even more critical for the proper recovery of refrigerants that can be brought back to the industry through reclamation. So we're spending some time with Hudson Technologies going through the entire reclamation process. Let's get this recovery started. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're at the Hudson Technologies facility in Champaign, Illinois to learn about the entire process of reclamation using a recovery cylinder from beginning to end through its entire life cycle. We're spending some time today with Kirk Reimer. Kirk, how are you?
I'm great. Welcome to our facility.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. So tell me a little bit about Hudson Technologies.
So Hudson Technologies is one of the largest refrigerant reclamation companies in the country. We employ some proprietary technology that allows us to separate and clean the refrigerant as it comes back from our contractor and wholesaler customers.
One of the things that I was learning as I'm studying what Hudson does with the refrigerant is you actually bring that up to a standard that could be even more pure than the virgin refrigerant that it started from. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things that we're really proud of as a reclaimer is we are one of the only reclaimers that have our own AHRI 700 lab. So we're certified by AHRI to certify refrigerant here on site in our facility.
Very exciting. Yeah. All right, let's get this recovery journey started.
Now more than ever, we hear a lot about the recovery of refrigerant and the reclamation of that. Why is it so important now more than ever in the industry?
Yeah, I think the environmental benefits have been well documented. Everyone knows about it, which was led to the AIM Act. And the phase down of refrigerants is really going to impact our contractor customers as we go forward.
Yeah, and that goes through January of 36, is that correct? The final phase down of 85% of all production of HFCs?
Absolutely.
So we're going to see a significant shortage of refrigerants if we don't manage recovery and reclamation properly. Now, what type of percentage are we seeing of refrigerants actually coming back from the industry compared to what's manufactured?
Yeah, that's the unfortunate reality. An EPA study that was conducted about 3 years ago said that there are around 2% of all the refrigerants is actually coming back to reclaimers.
So 98% of the refrigerant manufactured is going somewhere besides back where it's supposed to.
Absolutely.
You know, Kirk, we can talk about leaks all day long, but it really comes down to industry education.
So
we know that we're supposed to repair leaks. We know that refrigerant escapes from leaks on systems, but we also know that a lot of it just has to do with poor practice on the technician part. And we are here to really help the industry understand that we have that responsibility to recover refrigerant, to not allow it to escape, particularly when we're doing equipment repairs and equipment replacements.
Right.
And Hudson's at the forefront of education and training, and we're very grateful to be working with you and partnering with you to help the industry be more aware of the best practices and the reality of what happens when we don't do things properly.
Yeah, I think everyone in the industry has a responsibility to this type of training, and it's the core of the mission at Hudson.
Yes.
To train contractor customers that recovering refrigerant is important and that it shouldn't be a cost center. Like a lot of people look at it as something I have to do to be legal and be compliant.
Right.
But we can, if done the right way, they really can turn it into a cost center. There's good value in the refrigerant they're recovering.
And there's consequences if we don't. Like if we don't increase the recovery and the reclamation of refrigerants, we will run out of service gas.
Absolutely. 410A is going to be a big challenge for us as you see the phase down happen. There's so many units out there that are going to need gas.
Right.
And if we don't have that recovered gas, there won't be enough to service the market. It's just the reality. You're going to see costs increase dramatically. If you want to keep the cost down on the refrigerant, the best thing to do is recover more.
Get it back. Well, how about we go on the life cycle of a recovery cylinder and the refrigerant inside of it, and we help show everyone best practices and how we're supposed to do this.
Yeah, let's show how easy it is.
I love it. All right. So Kirk, we are now in the warehouse of this facility here in Champaign, Illinois, and we have an entire skid of recovery cylinders getting ready to go out to the industry. I would love for us to follow from here all the way back to here. What do you think?
Absolutely. We'll show you how it's done.
Yeah, I would love that. So let's go ahead and take one of our cylinders, and let's start with this one here. So we're going to take this fresh cylinder. We're going to give it an identity. So we're going to go ahead and label it. Look at that. Our own Hudson decal with the smiley face. I do. That's cute, isn't it? So we're going to follow you through your entire process. Now I noticed this is a 50-pound recovery cylinder?
This is a 50-pound cylinder, most common for residential contractors.
Absolutely. But I noticed a variety of different sizes here. What all sizes do you encounter here at Hudson?
Yeah, we have 30s, 50s, all the way up to an ISO, which is about 30,000 pounds of refrigerant.
It's a lot of refrigerant.
It is.
Is that one of the large cylinders I've seen outside?
Yeah, I get pulled around by a truck. You see them on the highway.
You bet.
Yep.
Okay, well, it's going to be very intriguing to see what happens from here all the way through the journey of our life cycle refrigerant cylinder.
Absolutely.
We just arrived at Land's Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling here in Champaign, Illinois. I'm spending some time with Chase Lehman. How's it going?
Going well. How are you?
I'm doing great. We've been following the life cycle of a recovery cylinder. I see you just received your shipment from Hudson.
Yeah.
Right? Let's take a look at your cylinders and kind of walk me through a process of how you prepare a cylinder for use. Oh, check it out. This is my buddy I've been following this morning, right?
Okay.
Look, he ended up here. So tell me about your process for bringing in a new recovery cylinder and getting it prepped for service.
Yeah. So once our shipment comes in, we'll examine all the cylinders, look for any sort of physical damage, just make sure they're in good shape.
Sure.
We'll also check the test date for the hydrostatic testing. Since those have to be retested every 5 years, we want to make sure that's still good.
Absolutely.
After we've done that initial inspection, everything looks to be in good shape. We'll purge the nitrogen out of them, and then we'll pull a vacuum down to 500 microns before we put any sort of refrigerant into it.
Speaking of refrigerants, what type of refrigerants are you using here at Land's in your fresh recovery cylinders?
Yeah, so we see quite a few different ones. We still see some R22, even though it's getting phased out.
Yeah.
Still see some on the tail end. We see a lot of 410A, and we're starting to get into the new R454B refrigerants. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So why is it important as a contractor to be working with properly tested and certified cylinders?
Well, safety is a big thing. Obviously, if there's any sort of defects with the cylinder, that can put us techs in harm's way, and we want to avoid that. Federal regulations as well, very important, because we want to make sure that we're following the proper process for reclaiming refrigerant and doing what we can to protect the environment.
Fantastic. So Chase, now we're in the recovery process. You're getting everything connected. Why is it important for us to recover refrigerant instead of just venting or improperly disposing of refrigerant?
Yeah, well, the most important thing is environmental protection.
Really?
A lot of the refrigerants contain some pretty harmful chemicals and materials for the ozone.
Right.
So that's very important. And of course, there's the federal regulations that we want to follow and avoid some pretty hefty fines if we dispose of it improperly.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does working with a company like Hudson help you stay compliant with the regulations that you're talking about?
Yeah. So working with Hudson, they kind of handle, the handling of the tanks, the shipping of the tanks, the actual reclaiming process.
You bet.
So it makes it easier for us to just pull that refrigerant out. We send it off to them, and we don't have to worry as much about all of the finer processes. It's a simple pull it out, send it to them. Allows us to be more efficient and get more jobs done.
Absolutely. So in all of your process and procedure here, you're very particular. To you, what does it mean to do things right?
Following the process is very important, especially at Lands. We want to make sure that we're doing the job correctly by those federal regulations that they have set up. It's a big integrity thing for us.
Sure.
We want to be known as a company that does things the right way. So we really emphasize following the process and making sure that we do it safely, not only for us, but also for the environment.
All right, well, I'll let you go ahead and finish up this project, and I'll see you back at the shop.
All right, thanks, Clifton.
Hey, Chase, how's it going?
It's going well.
I see you're back from your job, so you did some recovery?
Yeah, yep, we did. pulled some 410A out of a system.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the next step in your process for this refrigerant that you have just recovered from the job site?
Yeah, so what I'll typically do after I get back, I'll label what type of refrigerant is in there.
Right.
I'll put how much is in there, make sure that it's below that 80% tank weight
Right.
by fill volume. And then I will also note on there if it's contaminated, is there acid, anything like that.
Very cool. And so this will go back to Hudson Technologies. And then what would you as a contractor receive from Hudson in return from that?
Yeah, so the office mostly deals with the stuff coming back in. I do know that they send us the results of what was in the tank.
Yeah.
At some point we get paid for it, and then they send us fresh new tanks that are ready to go for another job.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate it and look forward to seeing more of this process.
Yeah.
This is such an amazing facility. One of the things we'd like to learn more about is what is the difference of reclamation? We hear different terms in the industry. We hear recover, we hear recycle, but then reclamation. And sometimes they're all used synonymously. How are they different?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty common for people to use these words interchangeably and incorrectly.
Yeah.
For us, it's really about, in this video, and the one thing we want to try to encourage more contractors to do is to recover. And that's the first R.
Yeah.
There's really 3 R's. The first one's recovery. And that's really about the contractors taking
Moving
the refrigerant out of old units, old air conditioning units, old chillers.
You bet.
And then putting it in a recovery cylinder and sending it back to us.
Okay.
That's the first one. The second one that you hear commonly is recycling.
Right.
And recycling gets used for all these. What we're recycling really is, you'll see this in the refrigeration market a lot.
Yeah.
Where they take the refrigerant out and they will clean it with like a filter or
Filter it a
something
little
like that,
bit,
and then
right.
put it back in the same exact system.
Because they own the refrigerant, they're able to do that.
Correct. Yeah.
Can't resell it or
as long as it
anything.
stays with the same owner or in the same unit,
You
they
bet.
can do that.
Okay.
And then the last one is reclamation. And that's really about what we're going to cover here in the plant today.
Okay.
And the process that the refrigerant goes through to bring it back to that AHRI 700 standard.
Oh, wow.
So what we will do through this process, and you guys will see, is we'll remove all the impurities. So moisture, oil, particulate, acid, and even mixed refrigerant. A lot of times we'll get the refrigerant cylinder back, and we'll have some 410A and some R22 in it.
Right.
Contractor doesn't know, they mix them.
You bet.
So we'll take all that out and bring it back to that same standard as virgin refrigerant.
Okay, so really the reclamation, you're taking that used, recovered refrigerant and you're actually bringing it up to or higher than the standard of a brand new refrigerant.
Yeah, the same exact standard. So there really is no difference.
Sure.
Once it goes through our process from reclaimed refrigerant to virgin refrigerant.
So you're really doing an entire recycling of a manufactured refrigerant into another new refrigerant. Must be a lot of environmental benefits of doing that.
Absolutely. The sustainability goals that's something that's really important to us.
Right.
And really important, should be important to everyone.
It should.
So if you think about a residential air conditioning unit today, if you recover the refrigerant just in that unit, it's the equivalent of driving your car for a year in the greenhouse gases.
There's
so
a lot
if we
of
can
units.
collect that gas, it's really important to the environment.
Absolutely. And so there's an entire process. And how about we start the journey and let's see where this cylinder goes?
Absolutely. So this is the intake. So we take these cylinders off the truck.
Yeah.
And this is the first step in our process through the recovery and reclamation process.
Excellent. And so, Kirk, earlier we had mentioned that it's more critical now than any time in the history of our industry for recovering and reclaiming refrigerant. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. As we start to see the federal and state mandates on the HFC phase down take place, the importance of reclamation is going to be more important than ever.
Right.
You think of all the existing 410A units that are out in the wild today.
Yeah.
As that phase down happens, you're going to have recovered refrigerant to be able to service your
gas.
units in the future. So as contractors, we need to start thinking about that, the importance of having gas to service those future units. We have to have reclaimed gas to that.
Absolutely. You mentioned R410A. What other refrigerants do you handle here?
Yeah, we handle all kinds of refrigerants here, from the older CFCs, R500, 12, 11. We still get a ton of those types of refrigerants.
Okay.
22 is still a big refrigerant for us.
You bet.
And then all the HFCs, of course. And now we're starting to see some of the HFOs start to come up already. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow, that's interesting. We we are at the check-in station. You had mentioned there's some unique identifiers on the cylinder. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so each cylinder that comes through our plant, regardless of size or type, has a unique serial number.
Okay.
On this tank, the serial number is stamped here on the rim, and then we also add a sticker which has a UPC barcode on it.
Okay.
The number is exactly the same. So if this sticker comes off, we can always go back to this unique serial number on the tank.
Now that unique serial number, does it stay with the cylinder its entire life? Because I see that it is stamped in pretty thick.
Yep, that carries on, and we can track these serial numbers back almost 30 years through our plants.
Really? That's very intriguing. So there's a chance that could have been my cylinder at one time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with the barcode, I'm sure that has some importance for the entire process. How is that utilized in the reclamation process here at Hudson?
Yeah, so when the cylinders get checked in, that's where we start to track all the information. So what customer did it come from?
Right.
What's the type of gas? How many pounds is in the cylinder? What was the last hydro date on the cylinder?
Sure, the testing for it.
And then we track that all the way through the plant for each step in the process to make sure that it hits every step in the process.
And now imagine once we've checked that in, we know where it is, then we can determine which process we're going to.
Exactly.
Very intriguing. Let's go look at some of those processes.
Perfect. Let's go.
Hudson Technologies is unique in that it has its own AHRI certified laboratory to expedite the testing for the purity of the refrigerants, both ingoing and outgoing. So we're spending some time today with Rachel Enns. How are you doing?
Nice to meet you.
You as well. So tell me a little bit about the testing procedures and the facility that you have here.
Sure. All the refrigerant needs to be tested under the AHRI 700 standard.
Okay.
That is 7 tests that the refrigerant must meet. There's the certain criteria for it to be considered certified.
Okay.
So those tests are purity, non-condensables, you've got moisture, chloride, acid, high boiling residue, and particulate.
Oh, wow. So the refrigerants are actually tested against the standards that they use for manufacturing new refrigerants to validate that it is there or above newly
Correct.
manufactured refrigerants?
Virgin refrigerant and the reclaimed refrigerant that we sell are tested under the exact same criteria.
Oh, cool. All right, very intriguing. I'm excited to see the next process along this evolution of our cylinder. As we've seen the refrigerant come into the facility, we're going to go through a check-in, we're going to go through a purity verification, and then we're actually going to separate. Our cylinders are going to go down one path and our refrigerant another. And based on the purity level, it could go through distillation or separation. So we're spending some time with Jeff Spencer, facility manager.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm great. Thank you.
I'd love to learn a little bit more about the processes. Like, what is distillation?
Okay. Distillation is the process where we utilize the Zugabees processing tower
Okay.
to use single plate distillation to remove the contaminants such as oil, acid, particulate, and water.
Absolutely.
Once that process is done, that bulk material is bulked up into a bulk tank. We then circulate that material and test it for AHRI 700 standards.
Again.
Yes. So that sample would be pulled and taken into the lab.
Okay.
That sample is tested. Once we meet or exceed those standards, that makes that material available for packaging.
Oh, as a brand new product.
A brand new product into a disposable cylinder or a reusable product cylinder.
And what about the separation?
The separation starts, it's very similar to the distillation. So we would start with the Zugabees processing tower.
Okay.
Then we would utilize our proprietary separation tower to run the refrigerant through it, looking only for refrigerant purity.
Oh, okay.
So the refrigerant purity is what we're after at this
Absolutely.
point.
Separating out any additional refrigerants that would have been in the
Correct.
plant. Okay.
And once those refrigerants are separated, that material is then also bulked up into a bulk tank, and it's also then tested for AHRI 700
That
standards.
makes sense. Okay. Yeah, so both refrigerants, whether it's going through distillation because it met a purity level, or it's going through distillation and separation because it was a different purity level, they both end up meeting or exceeding those AHR 700 specifications.
That's correct, yes.
Very interesting. Thank you. That's a lot of information I didn't know much about.
Thank you.
Andrew Smith, Senior Plant Manager. How are you?
Doing well, how are you?
I'm doing great. Let's talk a little bit about prepping of a cylinder. What steps do we take to ensure that a cylinder is cleaned and ready, like prepped to be reused?
Yes, every cylinder we process in the facility is going to get vacuumed out.
Okay.
We're also going to paint and blast every cylinder, put a vacuum on that cylinder, and then we're going to wrap the valves.
Okay. One of the things that we noticed in the check-in is that each cylinder has a hydro test date. What happens if a cylinder is out of that hydro test date range?
Sure. Roughly 20% of the cylinders we receive will be out of that test date.
Oh, wow.
That's going to need a hydrostatic test. It has to be done every 5 years. That's done over here, and then we'll still bring it back, blast it, and paint that cylinder.
Okay. So with all of that data then, how do we verify that a cylinder is ready and all the safety requirements and the regulations are met before it goes out?
Sure. There's a few things you'll look for. Number one will be that test date. It'll have our unique RIN on there so the customer knows who hydro tested that tank.
Right.
It'll also have all the appropriate paint per ARI. It'll have the warning labels and the cylinder tag on it.
So Andrew, there is a lot of painting going on here. So tell me a little bit about that process. Are every one of these cylinders getting repainted?
Correct. Every single cylinder will be repainted. They'll go through the blasting process down to gray metal, and then we'll apply the appropriate paint.
So every cylinder coming from Hudson, you're going to recognize it will be a brand new cylinder.
Absolutely.
So we're going to get a new fresh paint. We're going to get put onto a pallet, probably going to be wrapped up, and then we are going to take that and have it ready to deliver to our customer, I assume.
Ready to get it on the truck.
All right, let's go check that out.
Let's do it.
At Hudson Technologies, we also found an abundance of A2L certified recovery cylinders. What is the difference? Well, the A2L cylinders are going to look very similar to your traditional cylinders. They'll have the gray body, the yellow top, but they will now have the additional red band as well as our reversed thread service valves. So as you can tell, it looks similar to our traditional, but it is banded for A2L, and they are in abundance here at Hudson. So what does the final product look like after it has been recovered from a unit, brought in for the entire reclamation process? Well, it looks like every other refrigerant you've ever purchased because it meets or exceeds the AHRI 700 specification. So our refrigerant that came from the field can actually look just like every other brand new refrigerant. So going forward, the importance of bringing that refrigerant in is so that we will have a supply of service gas as well as new gas for equipment moving forward.